last name's Christian, Mozeliak. John Mozeliak, I'm the president of the baseball. So talk a little about all about spring training. Obviously, I think today really means is the future, right? We've been here since 1998. We love Jupiter, we love the community, but knowing we're going to be here for so much longer is so important. And when you think about the competitiveness and what we deal with in baseball, you look at what's being built in Arizona and other places, there was a competitive event for some of those teams. So for us to upgrade our complex here in Jupiter is exciting for us. We're looking forward to it. Obviously there'll be some growing pains over the next couple of years with construction, but we know the importance of that, and we look forward to being here for another 25 years.
How important are these upgrades also for the fans who come here from across the country to see you guys play during spring?
Well, I think we've always been sort of fan-centric here. Like, we've always been that. It's been sort of like where we've always put our money, invest in that. I think sort of behind the curtain is where we needed to really put some dollars, but I hope the fan experience is always something that gets better.
And what do you hope people get out of this morning's meeting and hope for the future?
I hope they realize it's a real commitment from the state, from the city, from the county, and from both the Marlins and the Cardinals.
And anything else you'd like to say? The floor is yours.
I hadn't thought about that, but hopefully for an exciting year. We're looking forward to getting it going. We can't wait until Monday.
Thank you so much. That's normally I get my best sound bites at the end. So
you're a professional. It's like you've done this before.
I'll sit here. Thanks. So good morning. We are going to have a wonderful conversation. We're going to talk baseball. We're going to get a sneak peek at some of the renovations. But as many of you know, this stadium is a real economic engine. It generates $32.5 million annually between the teams and all of the other events that are hosted at the stadium, excluding COVID. And I have some great news for you. These organizations are not going anywhere. They've just signed a lease that will keep them here through 2049. So Kim, I'll start off with a softball. What does that stability mean to you for the organization?
Well, it's just tremendous in terms of our outlook and being really a pillar of this community. Us being just an hour, 45 minutes down the road, to be able to know that this is our home is, there's nothing like it. And so, we are anxious to continue that partnership with this group.
How about for you, Mo?
Well, since we're in the business community, anybody that can get a direct flight from St. Louis to West Palm, please help. So yeah, your little hour and 45-minute commute, I have that layover in Atlanta. But look, we've been coming down here since 1998. It's an amazing community. I can imagine if anybody remembers back then, it was really a sort of a sleepy beach town. And now it's like a thriving city. And to listen to the doctor talk about like even the hospital, the growth, and where that's going, especially west of 95, is really incredible. So when I think about the importance of Jupiter and what it means to the St. Louis Cardinals, is it's really become our second HQ. So when we always refer to Jupiter, we think about it as our second headquarters. And so to see us invest in it and to see you guys invest in it is really important, not only to the Marlins, but also the Cardinals, and we're really grateful for that.
So let's get a look and a sneak peek at some of the renovations. We'll get familiar with those. So draw your attention to the screen. I'm going to try to do some play-by-play. So the yellow area is the public setting. Everything in blue is the Miami Marlins. Everything in red is the Cardinals. So as we go to the first slide, this is across from the amphitheater, or if you're coming from the stadium grill, a little pre-gaming, you can see that's the entrance. On the right-hand side is the stadium store. Now, if you've been to the current stadium store, it's really tiny, it's really dark, it's one in, one out. This is 3,000 square feet, and you can see the windows at top. Great natural lighting, which is fantastic if you're picking up a Goldschmidt jersey or perhaps a retro Jeff Conine jersey. You can really see the colors shining through. Over here, I want to draw your attention to the view on the left field side. They got rid of all of the bleachers, and this is essentially left-hand rail seating. And that's going to be there, and it's going to enhance the fan experience, and that's on the left side. But on the top right, You'll see a new bar area with TVs, and that's important because baseball, of course, is a social game, and it's also March Madness, and we want to catch up on our favorite alumni teams, so we want to get some scores. But just below it is another team store that's an outdoor space. Kim and Mo, you know, I just remember growing up and going to games, and people had that Panasonic radio, and they were keeping score, and the traditionalists would frown at something like this. How important is the social aspect of the game today? Mo, I'll start with you this time.
Well, I think when you think about like fan experience, it sort of drives how we think about decision making, right? So today, how do people consume baseball or sports in general? They look at their phone, they look at their iPad, and when you are at the ballpark, we want the fans to have that experience. So modernization is important. You know, we talk about being progressive and modern thinking in our decision making, and so we have to think about that when we incorporate it into the fan experience. So, look, I love Roger Dean Stadium. I think it's amazing, but you know what we can do with it and think about modernizing it. It's something that I think is going to really come full circle. And so I think from a fan experience, they're going to love it. They're going to love the changes, and you know, ultimately, we hope your experience is something that you want to come back to or relive. And you know, as we look at these changes and these renovations, I think they're really important to the future of this game.
Especially now with attracting younger players, or younger fans, I would think, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, listen, I think the competition for you know, everybody's attention is intense these days, you know, from the phones to other sports, you know, those fan experiences. And so I think the ability to have venues like this or areas like this is really important. You know, you want to try and connect with those that you're with, as well as connect to the athletes. So the closer we can get them to the action, the better, and including the young people.
Fantastic. So this is the left field rail seating. So let's take a look over here. You can see right by that 325 sign in the green, just above it is a new picnic area, as Mike said, welcome for group outings and regular corporate events. And that's a new space. And just below where that 325 is actually a changing area for the umpires who are currently using the visiting team's locker room, which probably is not a good thing. So now they have their own space. And you can see over there in the bullpens along the outfield wall, those have been along the left field and the first base and third base side, which is somewhat dangerous. For safety, those have been relocated. Here is an aerial view of that in case you wanted to get that. You can see that larger picnic area to the left, on the right where the bullpens are. So right over here, this is the Marlins side, their beautiful clubhouse. You can see the pastels on the front match the whole look and feel of Abacoa. It is the year-round training facility for the team, and naturally the Cardinals have one as well, and go figure it's in red, and it too has the pastels that match the look and the feel of the community. Going ahead, let's go behind the scenes, behind that velvet rope. This is inside the Marlins clubhouse. Has anybody ever been inside the Marlins locker room? You know how small it is. Everybody walks around like this. It's really tiny, and when the reporter's in there and it's crowded, this is a new modern clubhouse. You can see places to congregate in the middle. The players have areas to stretch. There's a chair in front of their locker. They're going with the oval shape. They have TVs. The Cardinals are going with the rectangular shape, same type of setup. John, out of curiosity, is there any reason you chose rectangular? Marlins went oval?
Well, I think everybody, no offense, everybody's kind of going with this new oval model. I didn't know what was wrong with the rectangular version, so. And then candidly, I think from a construction cost standpoint, this is cheaper.
Less expensive, a real value. So, yes, we got to wordsmith that. So the Marlins, of course, have a nice workout facility. Currently, the facility holds about 40 people. This one, just like the Cardinals, will hold about 200 plus, which is very important for everybody to get in their exercise and their workout. Upstairs is the cardio. Downstairs, the weight rooms. You can see the Cardinals have that as well. Out of curiosity, knowing what you have now and knowing how valuable it is to have these amenities, what role does that play in attracting free agents, knowing that you're going to have these upgraded facilities, Kim?
Very, very important. You know, I can tell you that this whole facility is just going to be quite the display for all those around Florida who are coming. You know, free agents, potential free agents from other clubs, and so when they see this, this is going to be a huge attraction. One of my former clubs, I was with the Dodgers for a long time. They would come to a visiting clubhouse side, which was horrible, and for the longest time, it really was an issue in terms of attracting those free agents. So we should not downplay this at all in terms of, you know, what players want, what they're expecting. I mean, I think that's a big thing today, expectations, and you know, just us coming up to this level is going to be huge for us.
Nice. Well,
I think, like, I traded for Paul Goldschmidt, and he came from probably the Taj Mahal of spring training facilities, right? And when he came to Jupiter, I was like freaking out. It's like this, it's a huge difference in like complex. But yet he kind of loved Roger Dean and Jupiter. And there's this simplicity about what we have. And I think like we all try to like want to, you know, keep up with the Joneses. We're always trying to invest, but there's something about Jupiter that's special. And so like, I don't want to get away from that. I do think though, to Kim's point, there is a competitive advantage of when you have what you're trying to offer players, right? Like I remember when the Cubs, they had like their own like protein bar, juice bar in their weight room. Like we had nothing like that. We didn't even have running water in our weight room, right? So like having those types of amenities, I do think matters. I mean, in the end, people want to sign with a club that they think is going to be competitive, that they think has a chance to win. But let me tell you something, what's the proxy in baseball or all sports? It's money. So if you pay well, you probably got a chance to go.
I would also say though, that I'm not sure our guys are going to want to break camp to go back down to the Miami Stadium.
so these renovations will be complete in 2025. So fast forwarding, meeting rooms, something neither club has right now. A great place to get together with the team, go over the daily schedule, watch some tape, get a good feeling for your opponent, etc. And something you may not have thought of as well, a dining facility. Currently, the players eat their meals on their laps in that small locker room like this, which used to work when you did a lot of Subway and fast food, but now nutrition plays such an important role in the game. The athletes are working out year-round. Talk about the value of having chefs on site as well as a dedicated kitchen. Mo?
Well, when I started in baseball, spring training was maybe donuts in the morning or soup, or I should say cereal. And then lunch was simply just soup. And so like, you didn't need anything as far as where to go eat or a kitchen. But like, the demands of what players are looking for today are really like first class, first rate. And so I think both the Marlins, Cardinals knew that they had to modernize. We both needed commercial kitchens. Currently, we're both using food trucks to basically feed our players right now. We have tenting set up outside so they can grab their lunch or post-game meal. But you know, it's critical. When you think what happens like in season, players expect something very similar in spring training, and so this is going to be huge. And I don't know how you guys did your dining, but we are cross-pollinating, so our minor league players will actually eat with our major league players as well. That way they can sort of see how they carry themselves. I'm really looking forward to that, because right now it's a little bit of separation of church and state, which I think is sort of a little bit cumbersome. So I think this way of thinking about it is really going to improve just sort of player relations as we think about this going forward. So I think this is going to be great, and I know I can speak for Kim, we're thrilled about this.
Kim, will there be collaborative dining, as Mo referenced to, between the minor leaguers and major leaguers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what I was going to say, is that the idea of camaraderie and team building is really helped out by this model and what we're seeing here. You know, these guys eating at their lockers, just talking to their neighbors is not ideal. So the idea that you can have veterans mixing in with rookies and them getting to know each other, so that when those guys come up from AAA, there's not as much anxiety on their part, and they have friendly faces. I think it really helps in terms of the team environment.
Nice. And then, of course, we'll take a look. These are where 7-lane batting cages will be, and these are important because what does it do here throughout the year? It rains a great deal, especially in summer, so this gives the players an opportunity on both clubs to go in there and get their hacks. With the batting cages, there'll be audio visual so they can study their swings, get familiar with what changes they want to make, and of course get those workout in on rainy days. Other changes that you'll see this year: a new and improved scoreboard, free public Wi-Fi, and there'll be a new press box as well. So just out of curiosity, these are 3 years away. What will the teams do while the stadium's under construction?
Wow. We're working through that, actually. We plan to play baseball here next spring, of course. I think really it's more just a logistical challenge on how we think about where players would shower, where players would change. We're fortunate because we do rent some space across the street, so we do have a weight room and training facilities that we have access to. Marlins are in a different situation, so we're just having to sort of work through these challenges. But the bottom line is 2024. There's going to be baseball here in Jupiter, so that part's good. It'll really be sort of our headaches to sort of like navigate the next 2 years, but in the end, it's going to be worth it.
Kevin?
We've had to use some creativity in terms of what we're going to do, and bringing in some tents and things like that, and using hotel facilities. But we're still, as Mo said, we're still working through it.
So let's talk some baseball. So Kim, you are the first female general manager in major professional sports. Come on. As I shared with you, I watched a lot of your interviews, read a lot of your articles before you came up, and you were saying, I hope I get that chance. I look forward to getting that chance. What does it mean to shatter that glass ceiling?
It really is, it's hard because, I'm just Kim doing my job every day, and that's all I've ever done. I think, the moments when people ask me that question, when little girls come up and ask for my autograph is when it really hits me, in terms of what I've done. Or when my mom looks at me watching an interview and saying, you should be wearing pearls. Hi, Mom. But it's, it truly is, when those moments happen, I think it is easy to take a step back in those moments. But, on an everyday basis, you're just going through the grind like Mo has gone through the ground. We are a couple of older souls in this business now. Mo and I have fought a lot of battles. But when you think about it, it is very cool. And I think if I had an outer body experience, I would think it was amazingly cool. I can see, a lot of women in here, and they look at me, and I think to myself, I'm just Kim. Just say hi to me, and that's it. But I do realize that, that I do have this platform, and it is important, and I take that with a lot of responsibility, and always trying to grow my reputation for the sake of all the women out here.
Well, take me back to the day you found out. You got the call. Who's the first person you called? What were the emotions? What was it like?
So it took me, so first of all, my husband was outside my door listening. Because I wouldn't let him, it was a Zoom call. It was a Zoom call that I was notified by Darren. And of course, I think the first person, obviously was him, and I think he saw my reaction, which didn't surprise him. In terms of the second person that I thought about telling it was my mom. But it was, we were very COVID-y at the time, and we just weren't seeing each other, and I really thought about how to tell her. I didn't really want to tell her on the phone. And I have 4 younger sisters, so I wanted to tell them all at once. So then it became the next tier down, and it was actually a former Cardinal, Joe Torre was the next person that I told. Joe and I had been together 3 stops, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and Major League Baseball. He brought me to MLB. And through those years, we have developed a very close relationship. Joe. You know, but he is really, I think, seen me through my career and really helped me, and the way that Joe brings clarity and simplicity to different situations has always been you know, something that I aspire to, and the person, one of the people that I've looked to. So that was the third person. In terms of my mom and my sisters, I brought them. We all met at my mom's apartment complex, and I had my 4 sisters there, and I told them this story. You know, Derek Jeter had presented an award to me years and years ago, I think 1999, and I showed them that video from back then, and I said, so remember that? And they said, oh yeah. And I said, well, some former shortstop just hired me to be the general manager of the Miami Marlins. And my mom shrieked. Everyone looked around because everyone's outside during COVID. And she said, I can't tell you until the press conference. I said, oh. There you go. So anyway, so that was hard.
And last question on the topic, what advice do you have for young women that want to get into professional sports management, and do you see yourself as a role?
I would say it's not for the faint of heart. I will say that it has gotten a lot better because of people like Mo and some of the folks that I've been around. Very open-minded. We are seeing women break into all the many different disciplines within the baseball operations, from scouting, player development, definitely on the medical side, in the front office, analytics, etc. And I would say you have to be persistent, and you have to have thick skin, but I can tell you that it's worth the wait.
I think that's season, we're going to see some changes to our pastime. We're going to see pitch clock, larger bases, restrictions on defensive shifts. What are your thoughts, Will?
Yeah, before I get into that, are you guys looking forward to these changes? No, it's always a mixed bag, right? Because when you think about baseball in general, nobody likes change. And so as baseball looks at how to make the game quicker, improve the pace of the game, and maybe even the length of a game is something that the younger fans want to see. And so, I think what's really been the driver behind this is to really push for that. When you look at the current demographic of Major League Baseball who watches it, it's like a 55-year-old white male. And so when you think of that from just a pure business model standpoint, you're probably not going to go on forever, right? So ultimately trying to capture that younger generation is critical. And so creating a game that I think people are enjoying, that they're paying attention to it, I think is going to be something that's really important to the future of baseball. I think the biggest change for me is going to be that pitch clock. I was actually advocating it should be called a clock, because I think the people that are going to be most affected by it are hitters. When you think about how the current veteran player steps out of the box, plays with his batting gloves, takes his time, you're gonna have to get in the box. Otherwise it's gonna be strike 1, strike 2, or strike 3. So you've gotta do that. And so I'm really curious to see how hitters will react to that. I do think the larger bases, most importantly on the bases, I just think they're gonna be safer. It's kind of crazy that a business, as long as we've been around, has never really changed the base in 60 years. So to just modernize that, I think is important. So I'm actually looking really forward to these changes. I think spring training is going to be fun to see how people react. But the one thing I'd be looking out for is how do the hitters react to this.
Yeah, and I agree with Mo. I was in the commissioner's office for a good number of years, and a lot of these changes have been in the works for quite some time. Mo cited the statistics, and I will say that in terms of the average age and the demographic, it's actually we're aging very quickly. Each year it's close to a year older that we're getting in terms of the World Series viewers. So those changes, or that reality, was recognized by the commissioner, and the commissioner has really done a lot, tried to do a lot in the last 7-8 years to try and slow that trend down. And really engage young folks in our game So the idea that they're going to move along quicker, and back when I was with the Dodgers, we were about pitching and defense, and those games tended to move quick, much quicker. Those games that we were playing back then, 2.5 hours versus 3:10 now, it just completely changes the complexion, and I think it's a much crisper game that you watch, and I think people get more energized by it. So, and also I'd say, a club like ours, where we don't have necessarily all the sluggers, but we're more about a little bit more about contact and speed. These changes are really going to help a club like us.
So you also alluded to the 55-year-old white male. That is the audience, but look on the field as well. It seems there's a great deal of Dominican players. This is a two-part question. Why is the talent so rich in that country? You both have facilities in the DR. And the second part is, how do you attract more inner-city kids from this country to the game? Go ahead.
All right, I'll lead us off here. I think first off, when you think about Dominican Republic, it's probably best to always just say Latin America, because we are getting a lot of players from the DR, Venezuela, Colombia, and other parts of Latin America. And I think part of the reason is that's where they play that game down there. Now, I think when you look at sort of what's happening here in the United States or domestically on why are not more African Americans playing baseball? And I wish I had a perfect answer for this group, and I don't. But I think it does come down to what's our competition, and our competition is definitely basketball. It's definitely football. And so when you're looking at what players are starting to do when they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, look, baseball's a hard game to go play when you're that age and you don't have a team to join or a community to join. So I think what Major League Baseball's doing, even in St. Louis with the Cardinals, we are heavily invested in the inner city. Because we're hoping to give it where it's not just a privilege to play the game, but everybody has an equal opportunity to do it. Now, will that solve this problem? I don't know, but we've been doing it now for probably 20 years. We haven't really seen an influx of more African Americans necessarily being drafted out of the St. Louis community, but it is on the uptick, and so that is encouraging, and hopefully we can keep doing that. But it's a great game, it's a wonderful game. I think when you think about when players finish their careers, especially when you ask like NFL players versus Major League Baseball players, they have their health, right? And you don't have the concussion issues like you do in other sports. And so, I hope baseball will continue to grow. I can assure you that we spend a lot of energy trying to hit that grassroots level and make that happen.
Ken, internationally, the game is taking off. You have the World Baseball Classic. You have a game, the Cardinals and the Cubs over in London. What does that attraction be?
Oh, it's been great. And again, having worked in the commissioner's office, knowing this is a very big item on the commissioner's plate, between the games in London, a lot of the international programs that they've got going on in Europe. I think we've touched all of the continents, most of the continents, I would say. Even Africa, etc. It's very, very important to the commissioner.
So both of you have World Series rings. Where do you keep them?
I've actually never worn one.
Not even your high school reunion, huh?
No.
Okay.
You've never worn one?
No, they're just huge. They're they're super sweet to get one. But look, I think about 2011 when we won the World Series, and I was sitting upstairs with our owner. We were having a nice glass of wine, actually fabulous glass of wine. It was 92 Lafitte, I remember. And so as we were sitting there and sipping it, the only thing I was thinking about is the next day, Tony La Russa is going to step down, so he's going to resign. And then the next couple of weeks, I knew we were going to have the Albert Pujols negotiation. So my point is, every day we wake up and our goal is to win a World Series. That's what drives us. But that moment is fleeting. It's just, you get to that top and it's okay, what's next? And that's what drives you. And so part of the reason I don't wear one is because I don't want to get comfortable with it. Because I always want to get another one. And so, that's what I push for.
Ken, what do you do with your three?
Opposite approach, brass knuckles.
So, what is the best part of your day, and what is the worst part of your day? And what is a typical day?
Well, the best part of my day is if we not to win. The worst part of my day is if I walk in the door and my husband hands me a drink after a loss. No, seriously, I mean, listen, I think waking up every morning and thinking that you get to go to the ballpark, to work. You know, and that was one of Tom Miller's things. He said, you know, this isn't work, what we do. And I think it's just every day that gratitude that you have for the people in your life that helped you get there, and the realization that you have, you have a lot of people depending on you, and that there's a lot of responsibility that you hold. I think that's the best part of my day. You know, and then the worst can be if you make a mistake, you know, because there are so many people depending on you.
And by the way, when her husband hands her a drink, he owns Silas wine, so I'm sure it's one of his. How about you, Bo?
You know, I learned this a long time ago. The best part of your day is those 15 minutes when you're driving home after a win. Because that's the only time like you can just truly relax. You know, these are awesome jobs. They really are. They're super cool. They do come with enormous responsibility. But when you think about like what we get to do every day, it's so much fun. You know, like I sort of look at my job as like, I always think about like running a major league team and like most people think it's all about like what you do at the big league level, like how your team competes and does it. And of course that's what's measured. But for me, I always look at it as like a table. Imagine like 4 legs of the table. And that could be like your player development, your scouting, your analytics department, and maybe your medical department is how we define it. If one of those legs isn't stable, what happens to the table? It wobbles. So all of my energy is on those 4 legs. You know, do I care about wins and losses at the big leagues? Of course. But I really focus on those legs. And I think ultimately, you know, the Cardinals have a winning tradition, and it's because we have a great foundation.
For the sake of time, I can't get into divisional play and some of the David and Goliath scenarios between the Mets, the Phillies, the Marlins, etc. in your division. I can't get into the new signing of Wilson Contreras and losing Pujols, but let's get to audience questions. Kim, this one's for you. Is there anything that stood out to you that you learned from Brian Cashman while with the New York Yankees?
Oh, so much. Let's see. You know, one of the things that I think that Brian is tremendous with is dealing with the media. You know, Brian, over the years, and so I was with him his first 4 years, and so I was watching him, you know, get his balance. But I think if you approach it, you know, with honesty, you know, and that's one thing that I've seen Brian do quite a bit of, is approach it with honesty. And when he can't tell you, he'll just tell you he can't tell you. And if he doesn't know, he'll tell you he doesn't know. You know, but it's honesty and no ego. You know, those early years. So that was one. You know, number 2, he was incredibly prepared and thorough, knowing that George Steinbrenner could call at any millisecond. He always had to have all the answers, and so he was always 5 steps ahead of George.
And that's always a good thing, too. And for you, Mo, who has the final say on each night's lineup and why? And the second part of that is, how did it feel to win the World Series?
Well, we already touched on the World Series because that's amazing. But you know, we are a kind of an old school organization in this regard. I actually do not make the lineup, and you know, I learned a long time ago that's why you hire a manager. And guess what? If it doesn't work out, then you fire the manager, right? Like, whereas if I'm holding accountability for everything, then I might have to fire myself at some point. So, you know, we certainly use like analytics to drive our decision making, and we use that to sort of help how we think about lineup building or lineup construction. But let me remind all of you, like, managers know more than we do. They know what's happening in the clubhouse. They know if someone's having a particularly bad day, good day, not feeling right. And so ultimately they have the autonomy to do that. this. And so I think the most important thing with the manager is you trust the manager, you believe in the manager, you let them make the decision.
You've both been in the game a long time. Mo, what's the best advice you ever received that perhaps you live by every day? Or you carry with you?
Oh boy, best advice. I think like one of the things that I learned a long time ago is a lot of times when you're in a room, especially when you have ambition, you're trying to grow, you're always trying to have answers. But reality is the best answer sometimes is to just say, I don't know, but I'll find out. Because there's always somebody asking you for something, no matter what level you are in this game. And I think just having the ability to say, I don't know, will help you. And I think for young people out there that, you're starting to look at where you're going to go to college, what you're going to do after college, that's something that'll serve you well. Because if you don't know and you answer an answer wrong, people are going to remember that. So always follow it up though, I will find out. Because you've got to go and finish it. So I remember learning that probably 30 years ago, and I still use that today.
Kim, best advice?
I guess I've gotten so much good advice, but one of the things that I really try to do from time to time is, I was told that it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, and all the minutiae of every day. But every once in a while, you have to remember to open the scope. And that means you have your blinders on and just open it a little bit so that you remember why you're here, why you're doing the things that you do, your core fundamentals, that vision that you have. And that's why you're doing all these little things. But once you remember that big thing, that sort of grounds you and takes you back. And then some of those little things that you're so intensely worried about, they disappear. And I think when you really focus on the long term is when you'll really start to make up some ground.
Thank you both so much for your openness, your candidness. We're super excited about the upcoming renovations. And thank you for being here with us this morning. To the screen for some upcoming events for Mardi Gras, Art Fest by the Sea, and the